Good evening there, everyone. Thank you for joining me again on another Make It With Me Monday. This is, of course, pre-recorded, so apologies for missing out on you live today. Let me adjust this just a little bit. There we go. And I will be live with you again next week. So everyone, please have an awesome Thanksgiving. Hope you get to celebrate with some close friends and family. All right, let's get started tonight. What you needed tonight was a piece of cardstock for your base. So 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4.25. And then you needed a piece of designer series paper, 2.5 by 4. I'm using elements from the Sweet Candy Canes collection tonight. You wanted a piece of neutral, that's 2 3/4 by 3.25. And then another piece of cardstock that is 1 by 2.25. It could be the same or different than your card base. That is totally up to you as you are working through these. All right. Then you also wanted to have a focal point that was about like 1.5 inches, 2 inches, nothing more than 2 inches, maybe like 1 inch, 1.5 inches, to have a little extra pop on your card tonight. Okay, so first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take your card base. We're gonna go ahead and crease that so we have a nice score line. Then you're gonna wanna take your designer series paper. We're gonna put some adhesive on the back of that. And we're gonna put it off to the side, kind of centered, top and bottom, but a little more off to the right side, okay? And again, I'm using elements from Sweet Candy Canes. So there was a stamp set and a matching die set, and then also a really cute designer series paper. And I have some elements of that I'll show you in just a second. All right, now take your neutral piece, and I told you to have some small image stamps handy. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna create a little pattern across the card, or across the piece of cardstock, not covering the whole thing. We're just gonna make a little pattern. I have some dots that came from a different Christmas set, and I'm just gonna kind of make a little track across mostly the middle, lower middle, something like that. Okay, and remember, this will look better if you go off the edges. So don't stop just before. Make sure you stamp off a little bit so that some of it's on and some of it's off. It'll actually give it a more finished look than if you actually stopped short and tried to keep it within the confines of your white card or your neutral piece. Okay, you can decide here if you want to have it popped up or do it flat. I'm going to go ahead and just show you all taped down flat, and you can decide on yours what you would like to do. So this neutral piece is going to layer over that designer series paper like so. So you have just a little bit at the top and bottom edge showing there. Now take that piece of cardstock that you have and you want to phrase that will fit that. I'm going to do real red on real red. So it's going to be very monochromatic for my particular Christmas card tonight. So my phrase says Christmas cheer, and I'm going to go ahead and hopefully I don't get too much in the head in the way there. All right, so there is my Christmas cheer. And we're gonna go ahead and add that to this white piece, or your vanilla, whatever you have for your neutral. You're gonna add it to your neutral piece. And it's gonna go right about here. So you'll have some of that showing over the top, okay? So that is where we are right now. Then you wanna take your focal piece. Now what I did is I cut a tiny white circle, and then I used some other elements. I fussy cut a couple tiny little candy canes from one of the pieces of designer series paper. And then I used the little label punch to give them a little bit of a background too. Okay, so that is my focal point. And I'm gonna put some adhesive on the back of that. Again, if you wanna pop your focal point up, use some dimensionals. And that's just gonna be highlighting that area right there for you, okay? So there is your basic sample for tonight. I know mine's very monochromatic. I stuck with just real red and white. And then I'll show you a couple other samples that I did in this particular layout. All right, first up, I used the Sweet Cherries stamp set and the In Color Glimmer paper. So that's the Tahitian Tide Glimmer paper. It's ombre, so it starts out very light and gets darker as you go down. That's really, really super cool. And then this is Sweet Sorbet and Parakeet Party. So this hashtag pattern comes in the Sweet Cherry stamp set. And then I just punched out my cherry using just plain paper and the cherry punch. All right, so then, since technically it's still fall, I brought out one more fall card, even though we've been looking at some snow here lately. This is Soft Seedlings. It's one of my absolute favorite stamp sets from the current mini catalog. I absolutely love this leaf. That is just stamped in Cajun Craze on vanilla. So all that shading that you see is done in the stamp itself. It's absolutely stunning. And just as a standalone maple leaf, it's gorgeous. My neutral in this case is Sahara Sand. And then I used vanilla and Cajun Craze also to do that. And then I added a bow with linen thread. You can, as always, try to play around with the layout and flip it around. So this is a version that is horizontal. So this is from Penguin Parade, still in the holiday mini catalog. I used Highland Heather and Gorgeous Grape, just something a little bit different for a Christmas feel, but I just love him. And this is, the phrase in there is, be cool, be chill, be merry. It fits his little penguin self so cute. This is the Dots and Spots die. So I put in a piece of cardstock. You can see this is a little different than some of the others. I added a background layer. And what I did is I put in a piece of cardstock and ran it through, and then it punches out just all those little holes. So the color of the cardstock you put it on comes through. Okay, so that is that. And then I used a piece of designer series paper from Hues of Happiness that had some of that grape in there. Okay, and let's move these aside and get you the stepped up version for tonight. So what I did is I changed out the base color. I used thick white instead of real red. And I used one of the dies from the candy cane dies to add a different background for it. So that was done out of red. So it mimics the striping of a candy cane. I added black behind my designer series paper just to make it pop a little bit. I added a little cutout to my banner across, and I changed up just this a little bit. And instead of doing it on a circle, I used the punch itself again to make a second layer. So I'll show you how I did that. So this is the Best Label Punch. It comes in a bundle with an alphabet set, but this one by itself is totally cute. So what I did first is I'm going to take my red one, punch one of those out, and then I will punch one out of white. And then what you want to do, now obviously these are the same size, okay? So in order to get them to layer, all I needed to do was take the white one and cut it in half the long way. And now I can kind of split it apart and make that particular piece a little bit wider. So I'm going to go ahead and add some adhesive on this side. Okay. And then take, whoopsie, he wants to be very sticky. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and take, there we go, the red one. And when I lay it down, as you'll see, I'm going to leave just a little bit of a border. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. And I like to work this direction. So. Okay, and there you go. So now you've got your tiny little piece. Here, I'll put it on the back of this card here for you. So you've got a little extra layer behind that where you've expanded the shape of the punch without having a full layer to effect to it. So that's a really good way to use some of your smaller punches and give it just a little oomph in the back. You just separate it a little bit and create a new, basically almost a new layer. All right, so there we go. That is your on camera and your stepped up version. And then I'll bring back in the cherries and the cute little penguin. And I think the fall leaf one is actually my favorite tonight. I think that Soft Seedling stamp set is just, I can't say enough about it. Everybody should have it. All right, everyone. Thanks again for joining me tonight. I will see you again live next week, Monday. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Bye-bye.